Life has a strange way of testing people. My name is Daniel Harper, and I never imagined that one morning I'd wake up to discover my world turned upside down. My wife, Emily, had left. No warnings, no long arguments leading up to it, just a letter on the kitchen counter and her half-empty closet staring at me like an open wound. The letter wasn't dramatic, just a few scribbled lines. I need space, Daniel. I can't keep doing this. Don't try to find me. Didn't make sense. Emily and I had been married for 7 years. Sure, we'd had our share of disagreements, bills, long hours at work, missed anniversaries, but nothing that hinted she would walk out. I sat at the table for hours, the silence in the house pressing down on me. The first person who called wasn't Emily, but her mother, Margaret. Margaret was a woman of quiet strength, the kind who never raised her voice but always carried authority. She'd always been supportive of our marriage but never interfered, letting Emily and me figure out our own lives. When she heard the tremor in my voice, she immediately asked, "Daniel, what happened?" I couldn't even answer properly. My throat tightened and all I managed was, "She's gone." Within an hour, Margaret was at my doorstep. I half expected her to be angry, to blame me for her daughter's sudden departure, but instead she stepped into the house and simply hugged me. That hug, warm and steady, was the first time I felt I wasn't completely drowning. Over the next few days, Margaret became a quiet presence in my life. She cooked meals when I couldn't bring myself to eat, kept the house from slipping into chaos, and reminded me to go to work when all I wanted to do was stay in bed. It wasn't about filling the void Emily had left. It was about helping me hold on when I didn't think I could. One evening, as we sat on the porch, the sun dipping low across the quiet neighborhood, I finally spoke the words that had been clawing at me since Emily left. "Do you think she'll ever come back?" I asked. Margaret was silent for a moment, staring at the horizon. "I don't know, Daniel. But I do know you can't wait forever. You have to keep living even when people choose to walk away." Her words stung, but there was truth in them. That night, I started journaling, pouring my confusion, grief, and questions onto paper. Margaret encouraged me to keep writing, saying sometimes the heart finds clarity when the mind can't. Weeks turned into months. Margaret and I built a rhythm, sharing dinners, fixing things around the house, tending the small garden Emily had planted but never really cared for. Margaret told me stories of her own youth, her struggles, and how she once faced abandonment when her husband, Emily's father, had left for nearly a year to find himself. "You learn to bend without breaking," she said softly one night. "That's the only way to survive when someone you love walks away." Slowly, I began to heal. The raw wound of Emily's departure turned into a scar, still painful but no longer unbearable. Margaret's presence wasn't about replacing Emily, but about teaching me resilience. One afternoon, months later, Emily returned. She stood at the door, suitcase in hand, her eyes filled with something I couldn't quite read, guilt, perhaps, or longing. "Daniel," she whispered, "I made a mistake." The old me would have rushed to her, relief overwhelming me. But the months without her, the nights I spent learning how to breathe again, and Margaret's steady wisdom had changed me. I let her in, listened to her apology, and told her I needed time. For once, I wasn't the desperate man begging for her return. I was someone who had faced the storm and found a way to stand. Emily stayed with her mother while we slowly talked through our issues. It wasn't easy. Trust wasn't something that returned overnight. But I realized something profound through the whole ordeal. The greatest surprise wasn't that Emily had left or even that she came back. It was how her mother had stepped in, not with judgment but with compassion, becoming a lifeline when I thought I had none. Margaret never lectured, never pressured. She simply showed up when I needed someone most. In her quiet, steady way, she taught me that family isn't always about blood or marriage. It's about who stands beside you when the world falls apart. And so, while Emily and I slowly rebuilt our marriage, my gratitude to Margaret deepened. Her presence reminded me that sometimes life's most unexpected surprises aren't dramatic revelations, but simple acts of kindness that carry us through the darkest nights. Looking back now, I realize that the day Emily left wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter. a chapter where I learned resilience, forgiveness, and the power of unexpected support. And that surprise, the one Margaret gave me, will stay with me for the rest of my life.